Hi, and welcome back to the Product-Led Festival. I'm Ravi Parikh, co-founder at Heap. As a sponsor of the festival, Heap is thrilled to help product companies in all industries use data and metrics to make better decisions, to increase product market fit, and most importantly, to better serve the needs of your users. We encourage you to join the Product-Led Alliance Slack group, where we'll host Q&A with speakers from the festival and meet to discuss product issues that are most important to you. We at Heap hope you enjoy the next speaker, and please stay tuned to the rest of the festival.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Turand, and I will be conducting today's session, Leading a Pivot. This is an end-to-end case study that will lead you through our recent product pivot at Dream Team, walking through our background, how we conducted a product assessment, providing a macro view, my methods for stakeholder management, an agile micro view, how we approached early validation, our eventual market communication, and finally, outlining a pivot matrix. By the end, you should have a comprehensive overview on leading your own product pivot and a roadmap that guides you through the full process. To kick it off, I wanted to provide some quick background on myself and the company. I am from Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is in the middle of the American desert. I was initially trained to become a U.S. Marshal, completing the law enforcement intern track during my undergraduate studies, but eventually made a complete 180 and landed up at Disney, monetizing their gaming products and launching some of the first apps on the App Store. Since, I have led product, analytics, and performance marketing teams for Electronic Arts, Microsoft Xbox, the NFL, and others, eventually running my own app company, TriMatch Studios. Currently, I am the Chief Product Officer at Dream Team. Regarding Dream Team, the initial idea was great. Create infrastructure for the millions of gamers who want to get into the world of professional esports. And we had the right people to do the job. The founder is a former esports pro who created and led Na'Vi, one of the most famous and respected teams on the scene. Lastly, the tech was amazing. The team had built some wild blockchain-backed technology designed to help anyone get to a pro skill level if they were dedicated and practiced. And that's our story, but it's no spoiler that we eventually pivoted away from this initial idea. When coming into any company, my initial approach is to do no harm, just assess. So the first thing I did when I got to Dream Team was dig into the P&L to get a sense of the top line. Then I dived into the telemetry. The first thing that stood out was our landing page. It had a bounce rate that was disconcerting. The early retention funnel was also not as robust as you would want to see, with steep drop off between D0 and D3. Lastly, the return on ad spend was not scaling. We were able to buy low-cost users, but they were not arbitraging out. One of the standout themes and the quickest to iterate against were the issues with the early funnel. So the product team created a host of experiments and set off to run multivariate tests to move some metrics. At the time, we offered an awful lot. There were many services on the platform, and we wanted to see which ones actually resonated with our users. We then looked at testing multiple versions of the homepage, each focusing on new value props and different ways to present them. We also looked at optimizing the registration flow so users could get into the core experience faster. So we ran the tests, and the initial results were perplexing. The registration test had solid results. One of the variants produced some material lift, and now users were registering at higher rates. But the bounce stayed the same, unchanged. Perhaps the problem wasn't how we expressed the value prop, but rather the value prop itself. That is often the root cause of a pivot. In general, all experience provide some knowledge, particularly those that fail. So what do we build? We built amazing tech, features designed to help people get to a pro level. But to get to a pro level, they needed to be dedicated on the level with how pro players train today, daily, with B2B tools and in subsidized housing. To really use our tools, players would need an extreme amount of organization and self-discipline. But who were our audience? They were casual. They looked up to esports players, but had school, multiple game interests, and friends who may or may not want to treat and train as though it were their job. In short, we built a rocket ship for kids who wanted a skateboard. This was textbook. We had a market, but no market fit. So we needed a new direction, leveraging the strengths we had in the market we knew. First, let's examine the high level view. So now we knew what wasn't working, but you need more than that before proposing a change in course. When you are moving away from a direction, you need a new direction to move toward. You need a strategic vision for the future. When beginning a pivot, I recommend you dig deep into what is working. And when we looked into our analytics, we saw some discernible patterns. In particular, recruitment and chat had strong early adoption. So we started to put together a more complete picture. We had designed for ultra hardcore disciplined players, but there weren't enough of them to sustain a B2C business. The intention was good, but we were constricting our own funnel. We needed to design for the casual consumer. Our transactional marketplace for finding team members was working well. They were chatting with each other and loved interacting with teammates. At the time, our training services were too advanced for casual users, but in general, the social aspects of our platform were very well received. We had recently launched a new tournament feature, and the early results were strong. For a moment, we considered moving more in this direction, but prior to making an expensive commitment, wanted to review the tournament landscape. We did some digging, and it was incredibly crowded. I went so far as to talk to a few of their CEOs, and several were in the process of pivoting from their original and initial ideas as well. We also turned to our customer support to get direct feedback. Lots of players looked at our features, but ultimately found them too complex. The top reason to unsubscribe was that users were not able to find a team. We also learned that we can't rely on our players to validate their own progress. Once they trained, they would go elsewhere to see if they actually had gotten better. We needed to provide a goal, something tangible to attain that showed players they were improving. Then we considered our company's strengths, of which there were many. We were best in market at building player matching system. We were stellar at connecting users. And from the founder down, we had decades of experience in esports and gaming services. In the end, we knew that we wouldn't just need to find a new direction. We would also need to convince one of our most critical stakeholders that it was the right way to go. And that was our investors. So we took a look at what the market was buying. This is difficult as many private acquisitions won't have public statements like 10K forms that divulge details. However, if you have an expanded network, you can usually derive some information through your connections. We looked at the most recent M&As within our space to get a sense of trends. Epic had acquired House Party. Given the current climate, that turned out to be a very good acquisition. Twitch acquired Bebo, and they also acquired iGDB, which they are leveraging heavily now. Many of the properties being acquired were social in nature, providing utility, consumer trust, and a large built-in network. So at this point, we had conducted a comprehensive search. Now it was time to draw conclusions and make a recommendation. A few things came together. On the feedback side, we were seeing lots of drop-off early in the funnel and low usage amongst many of the training features. Our customers were telling us that much of our experience was too difficult, but they found value in creating teams and chatting and playing with friends. For growth, we also had a low K factor, as the referral system was not strong. When we bought one user, we only got one user. In addition, most of our unsubscribes were being driven by users who wanted to find teams and friends but couldn't. And for the market, our investors wanted us to hone our KPIs, scale, and build enterprise value. Within the current market, we had comps of social companies that had done this and achieved successful exits. We prospected the market for blue ocean strategies among the red sea of gaming, and at last landed on a general idea. A team-driven social gaming experience, catering to our casual audience, a destination for casual players to show off their skills, find friends, improve, and compete in challenges inside the teams they created. Business goals were easy after that. Get investor approval, socialize with the broader team, see fast growth with a focus on the top of the funnel. Now to get everyone on board with the vision. The first stakeholder you need to get on your side is the CEO, your partner. You need the CEO not just for the obvious reason of permission to proceed, but also because they will be the most critical salesperson on the team, both internally for the employees and externally for investors. Dig in deep with your team and get into the details. You need to show the big idea, but also present a roadmap with real timelines. Socialize with all the groups, customer service, marketing, product, and engineering to flag any issues early and improve the design. Great ideas can come from anywhere. And then go in with consensus from the team. Present with all the PMs together and have them defend their sections rigorously. So now that the CEO is on board, you're ready for the next step, making those people who gave you money just as excited about the idea as you are, your investors. And you have to empathize with their position. They gave you money to fund a vision, and now you want to pursue something else. This is not uncommon, but to an investor, there's a worry that you may need to start from scratch. You want their support, you want their feedback, and ideally, you want their continued investment. To gain this, you need to get them excited about this vision and lead them on a journey that lands them at the same conclusion you arrived at. Not everyone loves a surprise, particularly investors. Seed the idea with your project sponsor early, ideally in person. They can be your inside advocate. The CEO is the company's #1 salesperson. They will always be the most passionate in the pitch. They should sell the new vision, and you should support it. Present realistic timelines for delivering your new vision and pragmatic estimates of any staff augmentation and runway you need to take the vision to market. You need to be honest here. Now for the boss battle, your own company. This may sound counterintuitive, but they will likely be the hardest to bring around, and it's unlikely all of them will join you on your new journey. They have worked diligently to support the original vision of the company. It's impossible that all will stay. Many will likely have not been in a startup before, and pivots will be unfamiliar to them. Acknowledge their work and express gratitude for it. Everything you have had up to this point is from them. The reason you are able to pivot at all is from the learnings received from the product they built. My best advice, be completely honest. Present what you did to the investors, outline what they expressed, be open about the roadmap and how this changes the company. And then accept the new vision will not be for everyone. You join a company out of passion. Sometimes the vision changes and the employee's passion dissipates. That's okay. Now that you have worked to get everyone on board, it's time to make the macro, micro, and tangible. Before you can validate your new idea, you need to get it into production and released. Separate wants from needs and outline the fastest route to an MVP from the existing infrastructure that is already in place. Don't start from scratch if you don't have to. Create a roadmap going out to at least 2 quarters, focusing on the early delivery of validating features. Your investors will likely require this. Chunk the MVP into parts and fit each spec into a macro epic to ensure the features you are building in the early sprints are future-proofed against the needs of the later sprints. And now that you've parsed out the work, it's time to get a realistic about what you want to achieve and how you plan to achieve it. Release validation features early so you can test and hone your initial pivot hypothesis. By validation features, I mean the parts of the MVP that actually prove your guess. Bake in some attrition, some employee attrition into your roadmap. There will likely be a percent of staff that will not align with the new vision, and it will affect your delivery timelines. And be realistic, success won't happen immediately. Make a plan to roll out the rest of the MVP, baking in runway to iterate and improve the features you are releasing. I want to spend a little more time on early validation as this is particularly critical. Testing the main hypothesis of your new core loop is important. Employ the scientific method to roll out critical features to ensure you are really quantifying the lift. Do this via whatever A/B system your team is most comfortable with. If you do not have a third-party A/B system, ping me, and I will explain how to build a quick and simple one. Relying exclusively on cross-promo from your existing audience may provide false negatives. It's important you source a steady stream of new users that will reflect the actual quality of losers you expect to get in the future. This stage will let you know if the hypothesis works at scale. And be realistic about the line items in your P&L, specifically user acquisition and revenue. Know that profits will lull while you're optimizing. So now it's done. The product has been approved, planned, soft launched, optimized, and released. And now you need to communicate the new model to the market. Now that you feel confident in your new direction, you can start doing B2B focused PR or B2C, evangelizing the new platform to prime you for future investment rounds. Once you start to achieve positive unit economics, it will also be time to test and see if your return on ad spend scales as you acquire larger and larger groups of users. And assuming you get your thriving new platform, validate your hypothesis, optimize the experience, and from all this, see a growing user base you can resume or start your partnership efforts. Depending on the type of business you are in, landing large enterprise partnerships can show stability and help with future investment. Can also bring some money in the door. That was a lot, but I want to leave you with one more thing before we conclude. This is a matrix that outlines the steps you'll need for an end-to-end pivot. The top outlines recommended actions for each stage. The bottom lists the needed artifacts. Some of these steps may be different depending on the type of company you are in. For example, large enterprise companies may not need to be as concerned about convincing investors. However, starting here ensures you'll be thorough, and sharing this matrix with your leadership team will help build alignment and set expectations. For the assessment, it's critical to dig into your D0 to D7 metrics, review your economics, and make a concerted effort to iterate the existing product into success. The artifacts you will need are clear product KPI post-mortem and an A/B test plan. For the macro, start by evaluating the current product strengths and assess what your team is good at building. Then conduct a market review, looking at the acquisitions in your space over the past year, converting all of this into a presentation for your stakeholders. The principal artifact you will need is a comprehensive product deck that clearly outlines and supports the team's pivot recommendation. For stakeholders, begin by getting the CEO on board. From there, work together to get consensus with your stakeholders, the investors, then align the internal teams once you have the go-ahead to move forward. The two artifacts you will need here are an investor deck and a team deck, which can both be repurposed from the previous product deck. For the micro view, the team will have to align on the MVP. This may take a while. Following, you can create a realistic delivery roadmap. The artifacts you will need are a technical design document for the MVP, and a fair warning, this could be a really heavy undertaking, and an easy to understand roadmap that lists the dependencies. For validation, you'll need to soft launch the product in a methodical way. acquire qualified users, and likely adjust your P&L for the next several months to account for a lull in revenues. For artifacts, the PM should put together a soft launch plan. Then a P&L proposal should be locked in with the CEO prior to proceeding. Lastly, for comms, if the new direction is gaining traction, it's okay to start engaging in some B2B or B2C PR to get your company name in the trades and attract investment and new business. You will also want to approve a growth model that achieves the desired growth goals, but doesn't exceed your budget and approved run rate. The final artifacts you'll need here is a forecast that is approved by the board and a BD pipeline that lists relationship owners and the next steps. And that's it. I want you to leave you with one of my favorite sayings: ad astra per aspera. Directly translated, it means to the stars through hardship. Contextually speaking, it means success requires dealing with a lot. And if you choose to undertake a pivot, you will face lots of obstacles. But it could save your company. Success is a function of time. And if your pivot works, it buys you more time and possibly a brighter future. It takes maturity and honesty to undertake and execute a pivot. I know many founders in the digital space. Most have been through at least one, others over a half dozen. Keep your resolve, and eventually you will find success. Thank you for the time, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions.